Hello, Andarki Namaskaram. Welcome to hashtag SveroChat 10 Questions with Sverostars. And here we have our speaker, Srujan Anna Garu. Srujan Anna Svero is a MA, MSc, PhD Environmental Science, and who is also our Svero Student Union official spokesperson and also one of the founders. And Srujan K. Anna is now working as the research scholar from the Department of Environmental Science, Usmania University. And it's an absolute honor and privilege to have Srujan Anna Svero here today with us to share his experiences with our Telangana Social Welfare Residential Education Institutions and his work and immense amount of hard work that he's putting into Svero Student Union and his current academic work in our Svero schools. So, hi Anna, hi Srujan Anna. How are
Hi,
you
Madhuri.
doing? It's a pleasure to have you with us, and thanks for giving us your time. How are you today, Anna?
Thank you, La. Thank you. It is a pleasure for me also. I'm
Mhm.
doing well. How are you?
I'm good, Anna. Thank you so much. Um, so today, thanks for giving us your time in your busy schedule, and I'm sure you have other things to do. And it's very good to have you here to listen to your experiences, listen to your challenges, and listen to your life history, so that it will stand an inspiration to a lot of other Sveros who are now getting into different fields and getting into academia like you and trying to pursue higher studies like PhD and becoming research scholars like you. And we need more people like you to inspire us, Anna. Thanks for being with us. So,
Thank you.
uh, thanks, Anna. So, could we please just start about how your whole Svero Schools journey has been started and who introduced you to Svero Schools, and from which classes have you been studying from Svero Schools, and who inspired you, and at the same time what place are you from? Could you give us a brief introduction and a story about you, Anna?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, my hearty jai to all the listeners and viewers of this particular interview. So I'm pleased to have been, called for this from Madhuri. I thank Madhuri and her team. So coming to this point, how my journey started here. My father was an educated person, and he wanted uh, me to put in a residential school. So I was joined in residential schools at 1999 2000. That was the year when first English medium schools have been started in residential schools. So having been my father from such a background, like he was very keen into education, so he wanted me to give education in English. So that was the only motivation that he put me into an English medium school. So from then, my life changed a lot. So I was joined in Karimnagar, Rukmapur. Now today it is called as the Sainik School. After Praveen sir has come, it has turned its shape into the Sainik School. So that is where I have studied. I have studied there for 3 years, from 2000 to 2002, 3. I was there.
Yeah. So as we've seen, you have a very good connection with our Svero schools right from your childhood. And I'm sure Svero ideology has been a part of your life, throughout. And it's been, taking you in shape in every journey of your life. So could you please share your views and opinions about Svero ideology and how it is keeping you going?
Sphero ideology, I was introduced after Dr. R.S. Praveen sir has taken the charge as secretary in residential schools. So I have been a student of residential schools some point of time. So I was also interested in knowing about this secretary, his work. So I was motivated with the kind of work he is doing. So I have virtually followed him for a quite period of time. So there are many officers that we admire. So it was only just an admiration for him, like the work he is doing, the energy he is putting out. But it took a lot of time for me to get associated with Swaroism. So I have joined into Swara ideology in particular at a very late point of time.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Anna. And the answers that you're saying, how you went out of the Sphero schools and you heard about Sphero ideology and you were so determined, you understood it and you also followed it virtually, was a very good dedication that we can see from you. Thanks so much for sharing that, Anna. And could you please also tell about one thing that you loved about social welfare schools when you have been there, and how that you want to tell it to the non-swearers, for people who don't know how social welfare institutions work?
It is really an interesting question for anybody to listen, both for the Sparrows and for non-Sparrows too. So I was into a government schools in my early days. So when I joined the residential schools, it has changed me a lot. It shaped me a lot. So one particular thing, the most important thing is that we have a timetable here. We don't have our parents. We have our housemasters in residential schools. So that is really like, they look after us. They look after our health. They look after our studies. They look after our timetable. There is a discipline in our timetable in the Swaro schools and residential schools. In hostels, the life is very much different from our home. We will be exposed to different kinds of people, different kinds of friends, different kinds of mentalities in our childhood itself. So we will be acclimatized to live a cosmopolitan life there itself. So that was a very interesting part of any residential school, I would say. So for being for we are sparrows, we know what it means for anybody. But for non-sparrows, they doesn't experience this actually. So I have never seen anybody sharing this kind of feeling also. So this is very interesting part for them to assimilate. They have to analyze that one. If they assimilate that one, it looks very great because the timetable what we follow and the discipline we get from it will shape our lives later on at later stages. That is how I am now.
Yeah.
It has a great impact on me.
Yes, Anna. So that's a very interesting perspective to look at, Anna, because as you were sharing, and a lot of people don't see this. So the kind of discipline, the kind of lifestyle that we get adopted to when we're in social welfare institutions, and how you're saying how we learn to live a cosmopolitan life at a very early age, and which will shape you in future, and it will definitely pay you in the future. And that's a very true point, Anna. And I think this kind of experience is like we're living away from our parents and we're living with friends, and we only have our teachers and housemasters, and that kind of an environment, getting used to it is so hard. I mean, that is there. I mean, when you when you first enter into the institutions, it's very hard, but like once you get used to it, I think that's the kind of determination that you get, like you will learn to live on your own, right? And I think raising that point is a very good thing, and thank you
See,
so much for
adding to
pointing it.
adding to this point,
Mhm.
we have learned to wash our own clothes there itself. We have learned to bath ourselves there itself. If we were in our home, our mother used to do that all for us.
Yes.
So our work, we have learned our own doing our own work. That was a very important point. And at later point, when we do our work, I got appreciation from the society for doing that very little job.
Yeah.
That will give you a crazy thing. Actually, people will praise you for that. You
Yeah.
will understand how good it is at later point of time. That also gives a satisfaction.
Yes, Anna. This
It's a great.
personal, yeah, this personal development is a key thing that you will learn
And
and take out of the social welfare institutions. And yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Anna. Thank you so much. And so, like as you were saying that you've spent a good amount of time in social welfare institutions when you were a child, and you came out and saw different things that Praveen sir was doing to our institutions. So, like, could you please raise one issue that you've seen that was so prevalent, that was a big problem when you were studying, and how it changed drastically when Dr. R.S. Praveen Kumar sir came into our institutions?
the scape of the residential schools, the scape of the Sparrows, everything has changed after Praveen sir has come. The world knows it. I doesn't require to say that any.
That's true.
But actually, I will share my experience. When I have joined in residential school Rukmapur, so we have got good teachers. That is true. There is no denial of that. But actually, those teachers were never trained to teach in English. No, the teachers who were trained to teach in Telugu were also put for us to teach English. So it has become very hard for them, as well as very hard for us also as students. So there was a huge gap in learning the language, learning the skills in English. There was a huge gap. So that was a major drawback I have faced it. And also at that point of time, we never had good infrastructure. We never had a good meals. Even we didn't had a good meals. There were a lot of problems. But we never felt those are great problems because in our home that was a problem too. We never had a good food at our home, so we never felt that this is bad in the residential schools too. But there are many issues that we didn't had any toilets in our Kumapur at that point of time. All the students used it to openly defecate, so that created a great problem during the time of rainy season. There, I have seen people, having been victims of snake bites, having been victims of scorpion bites. There were a lot of problems like this.
Hmm.
The health issues. If suddenly we get any health issue and we were sent back to our homes are not that good to, it is no more a hospital. So such kind of things were always there. But after R.S. Pravin Kumar sir has taken charge of these things, the whole landscape has changed. I never thought of such kind of. I never imagined a school to be like that, and he brought something called like free think schools. The landscape has changed, the infrastructure has changed. The teachers were trained in such a way that they look after each child like in a different perspective, and especially the English language has focused to the center. Not only that, if I can say, we were monthly we used to go out and watch a movie. During that point of time, it was very mischievous activity. But I think now our students, when I have happened to go to one of the schools, now people are making movies. No, we were like watching movies and they were like making movies. So
No.
that has changed. Lot of change has come in.
Yes,
So
sir.
at that point of time, every teacher used to think that a movie is not a good thing. But after Praveen sir has come, now it has become somebody's passion to make movies. Somebody to learn it. So I have seen these summer camps. Summer camps are like wonderful things. We never thought of that. So we used to have something called excursion in those days.
Yeah.
That excursion was to Charminar, Golconda, come back. That's it. But
Yeah.
these summer camps are more than that. Summer camps and learning camps, workshops. No, I have also been mentor for one young journalist camp where I have seen people writing poems in English. That was very great. Actually, I have gone there to teach them some writing skills and some other stuff. But those kids are too good. I happen to see one girl who has written a novel actually. See, I am a mentor. I have gone there as a mentor. I never in my life wrote a short story, but I have some skills I wanted to share with them. And I happened to see that girl, a young 8th or 9th class girl, already wrote a novel. So she shared that novel with me. She shared many things regarding that. So that actually, that is how it has changed a lot.
It is.
We were never of thinking about attending a library at all from that space during my time. Now people are like they have become content generators at the age of 8th class, at the age of 9th class. They are writing.
Yeah.
So, this has changed a lot during the provincial time, and there were many good secretaries too, but not that dynamic as R.S. Praveen sir.
Yeah.
So he is not a good, just a good administrator,
Mm.
but he is a very dynamic personality. He loves kids so good that that love is shared by to share to everybody.
Yes, Anna. That's very true. Thanks for sharing your opinions, Anna. And I think your opinions are very diverse and very different because when you look at it, you're saying how back in the day. So, and it's very interesting to listen to your perspective because you studied in schools like back in the day, like in 2002, 2003. And we've been in schools, let's say like 2009, 2006. At those times. So when you're trying to compare before Praveen sir versus after Praveen sir, your ideas are very important because you're saying how back in the day we used to just normalize how we used to live. We used to normalize our problems. We used to think that that's how the lifestyle works. But only when Praveen sir came into our institutions, he showed us how different and how better we could live, right? How better our lives can be. And I think that really mattered a lot. And only after that point of time, he gave us a platform to show our talents and exhibit our talents. This is where all these summer camps and all these students, improving their English skills, etc., have been given a huge importance, and that has been a biggest part of the change. Thanks for sharing your views on that, Anna. Thank you. And so, as you said, Swero has been a part of your life, and why do you so like could you say us how it changed your views or perspectives, and could you also share your Swero student union experiences, because you're one of the founders and you're also the official spokesperson.
Uh, this gives me immense pleasure in sharing these things because I since my childhood I was a book reader, so I love to read books. So I used to get into library and read some stuff. So looking at this, my father gave me a certain kind of books at my early childhood. So I happened to read Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar at a very young age. Uh, you know, uh, I was into Telugu medium. I didn't know English, but the stuff was not available in Telugu actually, vernacular languages. Ambedkar during that time was not available to much greater extent.
Okay.
So we used to get a magazine called Dalit Voice during that point of time. That was from Bengaluru, edited by V.T. Rajasekhar. So his language was too good. I was like unable to read it actually. For every phrase I used to stuck up there, open my dictionary, look into words. There was a huge problem for me to read that. During that point of time, I've put my energies and learned Ambedkar. So after reading Baba Saheb Ambedkar, it is not a one-day reading, but for a quite amount of time, it has become a part of my life to read Ambedkar. So later, at some point of time, I have understood there is a very important person called Kanshiram, his contribution was too good for the post-Ambedkarite movement. Then I've learned all these legends, Bahujan legends, starting from Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, Gautam Buddha, to Manjashri Kanshiram. So I was very much interested in learning these ideologies. So along with them, I was also introduced to the South African literature, the black literature. It always attracted me rather than these fiction stories. I always loved these biographies. I always loved these the leaders. So it always fascinated me. So I have happened to read as much as possible at my early stage to my uh, PG. I would say I entered Usmania University to take up my MSc Environmental Science in 2010. So till that point of time, I was learning many different things. So at that point of time, when R.S. Praveen sir has entered, he went to Harvard University. So I was also following him because he was a good administrator. I know Dr. R.S. Praveen Kumar sir. Uh, when he was attending his duties as SP in Karimnagar. So he was well known for curbing down the Naxalite movement. So I was also reading about him. So there was a news in the paper. I currently regularly follow that. So I happen to see R.S. Praveen sir. I happen to see that during Telangana movement, we have seen R.S. Praveen sir. We have met him. We know some different story of R.S. Praveen sir at that point of time. But later, when he uh, brought an idea called Spheroism, when he introduced it, at that point of time also, I was not very keen into what is Spheroism because day to day, every new ideology is coming. People are out of their own interest, they are creating many like organizations and anything. So we were not too much into the Spheroism at that point of time. I was very critical of all these new isms. Actually, I was already into a ism called Bahujanism or Kanshiramism, Ambedkarism. So that was I was ragged by that.
Yes.
So later, when I have exposed to this Pharaohism, when I've read R.S. Praveen sir, I was also critical at that point of time because uh, there were very different and critical views on him. So there are multiple views actually. I was looking at different views and I put myself in a very neutral position. I was not like very pro to RS Praveen sir, but later his work and his success as he transformed the social welfare institutions. Having been come from such a background, I have learned it. This could not have been happened without a great dedication. So I loved his dedication. That success was shown. So I always, later at that point of time, I always wanted to be part of this Pharaohism. So at that point of time, I got an opportunity with Prabhakar Chowti. He asked me to join to start something called Swero Student Union. So at that point of time, I was in love with Sveroism, but I didn't know how to work with Sveroism or how to go with it. So I have been called as a mentor for impact programs. I have been called as a resource person for different summer camps. So I have been doing my job, but not very active job. It is a very passive. Whenever I get some time, I used to go there. I used to do some little job. I was not satisfied with that actually. So
Mm.
at this point of time, when Chowti Prabhakaranna came to me, he asked me that we are going to start a new organization for students. There are lacking in the existing student unions, and we have to put a full stop for such kind of ideologies. Then we should have an alternative with a different perspective, and he wanted me to get involved in that. So I took it is a great opportunity for me to get associated with that, and that was the first time I have personally met Dr. Praveen sir in the capacity of secretary residential schools. Till that day I never visited Dr. R.S. Praveen sir. He has come to my home and he had visited this place,
Mm.
but I was not available in the home at that point of time.
Okay.
So later at this point of time, when we have joined SSU, Swero Student Union, then I was given a charge of official spokesperson, and we were designing programs. We were calling for different kinds of perspectives. We have started many other issues. It has recently started actually. So 6 months back we have started. We have much way to go forward. So
Okay.
we have been looking at many issues also.
Yes. Thanks for sharing your opinions, Anna. And honestly, from my side, after you expressed your views about Spheroism and SSU, I must say that I'm very delighted and amazed to hear, how you've been grown up to sort of, studying Dalit literature or South African or Black literature, and you're already well aware about all these things from your childhood, and how you've been always critical about other views that are coming up, and trying to analyze it on yourself and trying to be neutral and knowing more about the things and then taking a stand. And I think that's a very good perspective to hear, and I don't hear that so often. So thank you so much for sharing that thing, and thanks for being honest on our platform about it. uh, and
Our one of our commandments is
yeah.
that I shall be honest.
Yes, Anna. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then your work for SSU, like how you've entered and how much dedication have you been putting into it. Thanks for sharing that too with us. And thanks for always being for this Sphero Student Union and making it progress and, go so on. You, people like Prabhakar Chautiana and other founders, thank you so much for putting your work and dedication into it. And it's helping a lot of us. I mean, it is like a family where you can look up to and be like, oh, I have this family for anything that I get stuck in life or whatever. So thanks for being there for us in that respect. Um, so following on that, Anna, could you please tell us, so like just like you said, how you started to believe in Spheroism and how it actually made you think, and actually made you follow it. Could you please tell us how Ten Commandments, which is a crucial part of it, uh, changed your life, or what changed your life, or change your path, or inspired you in some way? And could you please tell which is your favorite commandment and how it's been a important part?
So the most important point or the most important thing that attracted me towards Pharaohism is the Ten Commandments. I happened to look at the interview of Malavat Purna on TV. So after she achieved, like after she her comeback to uh, Telangana state, after the Everest thing. So I was amazed to look at that child. Like, she was quickly saying all the 10 commandments. I never listened them. So she said that, these commandments guided me. They are like backbone of me during crucial part of my life journey to Everest. I was interested in learning these things. So when I looked at the a portrait of 10 commandments having been written on framed painting at Dr. R.S. Praveen sir
Oh,
chamber. So somebody took a photograph of that and they got it to me. I happened to see that on WhatsApp or Facebook, something like that. So I put my energy to open that and look keenly into these 10 commandments. 10 commandments are like, they are too good. Everything is too good.
yeah.
So as I already said you that, I've been reading some biographies of leaders. I was interested in non-fiction stories. So when I have been reading these people, I have collected some points from different persons.
Okay.
Like, in our life journey, we also collect some good points from our mother, some from our father, some from different leaders, some from we don't know who it is, but we also learn certain things. We learn from our more, we'll get inspired by somebody and we learn a point. So this 10 commandments is like a ready-made thing for you. Like, everything is filtered and very crucial 10 commandments are given to each and every child.
Yeah.
So I love the very first kind of thing of in the 10 commandments. I shall never be inferior to anybody.
Mm.
So literally, having been seen the literature from a different perspective, having read the untouchable narratives, having read the Dalit perspective, having read Kanshiram's Bausan perspective, then with the Dalit Panther movement, with all this kind of background, I have made a different analysis of these 10 commandments.
Mm.
So that first thing, when it said that I shall never be inferior to anybody, that was it attracted me a lot. Because what I have learned over a period of time, it took me some 10 years or 20 years for shaping me out. That was given in 10 commandments simply.
Yeah.
So that was the beauty of all the 10 commandments, and I love all the 10. I'm not one to be this is good, this is not good, and this is I like the most. It is nothing like that. All the 10 are awesome and wonderful.
Yeah.
But I have two points in that. One is I shall think big and aim high.
Mm.
That was not at all a case of mine before. Before reading this, I never come across that. Other yet I have come across, but this particular point, I have never thought of thinking big. No, I was always felt like I am an optimistic. I was normalized with what I have. I have already said you that. So
Mm.
that was my nature actually. So after reading them, after being looking at them very critically, I have understood that there is something called thinking big
Mm.
and aiming high. So what it really means, that mattered me a lot. I was also a civils aspirant during my BSc. Later, I joined MSc. I couldn't clear civils prelims also. So I thought there is some problem with me, and I gave it up. So at that point of time, with that background, when I read this, uh, it motivated me a lot again. To look, think big and aim high. There is nothing wrong in that. So I always, I that changed my perspective. Like, I am not misfit. I am not unfit to be at a different position, but I'm misfit because I'm occupied with different things. I am not able to give some time to these things. That is why I couldn't able to clear. So there is always a chance for me to think big, and I started to analysis how to think big. I googled it. So
Yeah.
that is what for a commandment. It is like a commandment. It gave me an opportunity to look into. I've found a lot of books on what is thinking big, how to think big. There are any number of things again when you Google it. But I've failed to find what actually it is. But I have learned from Dr. R.S. Praveen sir how to think big. How he is changing the scape of these the whole infrastructure. He has changed a lot. So
Yeah.
that is called something like thinking big.
Yeah.
With it is not that we are going to change this society in one day, but if we are determined to change or bring a change over a period of time, if we start working for that, later at some point of time there will be a big change. And you should have aim for that. We should think big in that way. I have understood it in that sense. So
Yeah.
other commandments are like the Sphero schools have already given me. Like you should look at anything. They are part of our school system itself. As I said, working hard or being honest, not borrowing, and if you borrow, you have to repay. All other stuff, we have learned from the schooling mechanism itself. You
Yeah.
know, that was never new to me at all. So
Mm.
my father has also been telling the same things. I've learned many things from my mother. I happen to read them in different stories. I have to, I made those conclusions a different point of time. And the last point, I shall never give up. That was also attracted me after think big and aim high. So later, what attracted me the most is that I shall never give up. So I have learned this. I shall never give up from Chauti Prabhakaran.
Mm.
So he is such a kind of person. He injects everything. He'll never give up on anything. He never feels regret of anything. So I've learned it from him. Having been talking to him on a very friendly manner. We are associated. We live in a very close hostels in Osmania University. So daily early morning we go for a jog. So on the jog we regularly talk on different kind of issues. At some point of time, I have learned how not to give up on issues. So these 10 commandments are not just 10 commandments, but they are also the principles of your life. If you
Yeah.
follow them as principles, they are 10 commandments. But if you make them your ethical principles, your guidelines for your life, like the our Constitution of India, which is a principle to our nation. If these 10 commandments if you treat them as the principles of your own personal life,
Yeah.
then you will be branded as a sparrow. Then
Yes.
see, there are many people who brand themselves as sparrows, but I really don't. No, I don't call them at all sparrows at all, because not everybody fits with that brand. I feel it is a brand, and it should be branded by the society. We feel some people adding sparrows to their name.
Mm.
It has become a very popular thing that I'm Srujan Sparrow or Madhuri Sparrow, something like that. It is good actually, but
Mm.
when we keep that brand, and
Mm.
we should make ourselves to that standard.
Yes.
It is a brand and it is a standard point. So I have never used in my life that Srujan Sparrow, because to some point I there is always something to achieve to that branding position.
Level.
I always admire Dr. R.S. Praveen sir for doing all these things. But he follows all the 10. If you look into his life, he is not that he gave us 10 and he is not looking after that. He follows every particular thing of all the 10 things.
Yeah.
So we have to at least if you cannot make, you mimic it. It will transform our lives.
Yeah. Yes, and your views about Ten Commandments are, of course, are numerous. I mean, there are so many things that you've mentioned, and I think I feel very happy to listen to how you articulate it. Right, you're saying how I've been, studying a lot of books, biographies, and all of these things, and I've been looking at things like this when I was, coming across different people. But like Ten Commandments, as you said, are like an oath, are like principles which are straight put up. You don't have to do a lot of work. It's just given to you, ready made, given to you, and all you have to do is follow it, right? To be a Svero,
Um,
to represent
but
yourself.
before following them, people need to understand the depth of it, and not everybody understands the depth.
Yeah.
But at early stages, we may follow them, we may mimic them, but at some point of time, we should understand them. We should analyze each and every commandment. We should do a research into that. It doesn't become a great thing if somebody comes out with a research article on that. If somebody is interested, who is a viewer of this kindly, they may also take up this as their PhD thesis, and they can do this a PhD on these 10 commandments. It really deserves that.
It really is. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But thanks for telling your views about Ten Commandments and also telling about your story on thinking big and aim high and I shall never give up. Thanks, Anna. And so putting this out, could you please, as you've known how this Veros things work and hostels and Ten Commandments, the whole work that you're doing for SSU, and I'm sure you're already paying back to the society in some or the other way. Could you please also tell if there's anything that you want to share, like future prospects or any other ways that you want to pay back to the society? And I'm sure you already are, but just anything else that you want to add on to that.
Yeah, certainly. Actually, the Swaroism, that it has come up only for asking people to pay back to society.
Yes.
Paying back to society is very much necessary when you are from the vulnerable sessions.
Yes.
There are a lot of people who are underprivileged than you.
Mm.
At some point of time, you have got some reservation, or you got up to some good position, a better position than others far behind us.
Mm.
So we have to also bring them up.
Yeah.
No, that is our duty. That is also what Baba Sahib Ambedkar, during his Agra conference, he also said the same thing. That he always thought of that. These educated middle class people will always look after the rural underprivileged persons. So that was his articulation. Baba Sahib Ambedkar's idea of people was in such a way, but it never happened in the lifetime of Baba Sahib Ambedkar. But after much longer time in the post Ambedkarite movement, I happened to listen this word, pay back to society, actually from Kanshiram movement, Manistri Kanshiram movement. I have learned a word called pay back to society, and paying back to society was in terms of like time, talent, and treasure. That was for the Bausan movement, and it was a political movement. So people thought that if you give some money, that is fine. If you give some time, that is fine. They have not understood it in a right way.
Okay.
But later, in this Pharaohism, when it has come up with the same kind of paying back to society, pay back to society might have also been in other parts of the world. But
Okay.
the paying back mechanism is very much different in Pharaohism. In a political way, it is very much different. I have learned it in a different perspective. But when it has come to these Pharaoh institutions, when Praveen sir said, pay back to society, I really don't know, what we are going to do. What is our role? At the starting, I was not aware of how to do that. But later, when Praveen sir has come up with some great ideas, and he always asked to contribute something, whatever you can. Then, as a resource person, I contributed something, a very little thing, but I contributed. So, as many people have contributed, and it helped the children in a very different way. No, in our capacities, we may be in any kind of position. In our capacities, we can do something. We cannot do everything, but we can do something.
Mm.
And if you just give your time, if just you give your talent, if your resource, whatever resources you have, if you share them, it will be a great part. And this is not charity. Swarism. Some people think that Swarism is charity. Some people very proudly say that if we ask somebody help in Swarism group, if you are connected to that, in no time we'll get lakhs of rupees. Yes, this is true. Our people are ready to give even money, but it is not charity. Our people are not paying back in with money, but they are paying back with the heart. They have some heart to this and poor people. They have the heart towards the underprivileged people. So this has become a daily norm for us now. Whatever resources we have, we share. It is not in terms of money. It is not in terms of uh, just in terms of time, but it is also in terms of information we share. It is also in terms of the resource person we are. Like it is also in terms of guiding some people, taking up some charge. Now, after this heroism has become a network of people. Now a global. It has become very global. So a person in the village, rural village, he can connect back to the diaspora of the world. Now we can connect to you who are in London now. We can connect back to Silicon Valley. If you have a question, we will ask it, we'll pose it, we will get a good answer. If you have a trouble, we pose that question, we'll get the solution from the experience of the certain people. So it has become a good resource for anybody. It is not just in terms of people have made their minds like Pharaohism is like a charity thing, but it is more than a charity. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Thanks, Anna. I mean, I know we're running out of time, but I can't stop myself to point this out. When you said, I was very much shook and taken aback by the idea that you're putting out, saying that a lot of people see paying back or the Swairism as charity, and that is not fine because it's more than charity, right? Like you said, like you pointed out, it's more than charity, and I think this always been a very big debate because there's still a lot of people. I'm sure you're also seeing people out there who treat it as a charity, and if there's a case that comes up, and then they'll always treat it as a charity case, which is definitely unacceptable. Because I mean, looking at it in different perspective from universities or colleges out there, and when you go as a person coming from SC/ST background and studying with other castes, other upper castes, etc, when you get a scholarship, or when you're expected to study with them, and when you get 100% or 70% scholarship and you are allowed to study with them, it's very rare in these colleges where you're seen as a person who deserve the scholarship versus you're seen as a charity case. And this happens a lot, and I think your views about that is also very important to apply it in those places where people should make you feel deserved of it. Like, you're deprived, you have been oppressed for so many years, and you didn't have a background on all these things, so you are put in a university and you're given scholarship because you deserve it, not because you're a charity case, right? And I think that idea is very important to put that out, and a lot of people don't talk about it. And we just normalize the fact that okay, somebody is doing us help, and I think that that thinking has to be changed, like you said.
Yeah, for changing the perception, I have one line to share with you.
Yes,
So
sir.
I've been into IFLU, English and Foreign Language University.
Yes, sir.
When I was walking on the campus with my one of my friends, he said that these girls have got all the reservation. It was about the male and the gender. So he said that these girls have got always they got the reservation. Then out of no sense, I just said that if there is no discrimination during their birth,
Yeah,
then there is no point of giving reservation for them.
I
So
know.
he was shocked by that. That's it. It changed the perception of that person. And later he came back to me and he said that, Anna, your word changed me a lot. It changed my perception. So
Yes.
I just wanted to share that because the viewers might be of the same kind. So if there is no discrimination, nobody deserves reservation.
Yeah. So if you say stop reservation, we'll ask you to stop discrimination first, because this is not the discrimination that's been born yesterday or today. It's been there for
Exactly.
thousands of years. So that will definitely have an impact on people who are coming from unprivileged castes. Thanks for pointing that.
I think we should talk a great lecture on reservation.
Yes.
If time permits you at some point of time, we shall also do one session on that,
Yes.
especially because the people like R.S. Pravin sir will also be discriminated. Nobody thinks of that. No,
Yes.
people only think that he is an IAS officer. He is a no, he is additional DGP now. But even at that position, he'll be discriminated. Not even him, but even the president of India, if he comes from an underprivileged background, he'll be discriminated. That is there in this country. That is the culture of this country.
Yes.
That
That
has to be changed a lot.
Yeah, that conscious or unconscious or direct or indirect discrimination and bias has always been there. And that's, yeah, and I think we should, if time permits, we should definitely have a discussion on that. And because it's very interesting and people have different perspectives, and it's good to put that out so that people will also learn from it. And I'm learning a lot from this session. Like, this is amazing. Thanks, Anna. And on a final note, so you know that Sweros are pretty much every part of the world. They're going to different places, doing different things, and are developing a network. And how do you feel about that, and what is your final word and message for all the Sveros out there who are upcoming and rising?
So I think I've made this point also. People think that if they are Sweros, like if they have studied in at some point of time with the residential school, they feel that we are Sweros. Yes, you are by definition you are a Sparrow, but that branding that doesn't come to you unless and until you follow some certain level of standards, you should follow them. So you should understand the standards first. Without understanding, there is no point of implementing them. So you have to understand, and how you understand them is the most important thing. No, you might be thinking that I have a very different perspective on all these things. But how did I get this perspective? Because of the knowledge, because of the books, I have learned these things. So there is every possibility for anybody to have a very different perspectives. They have to generate their own perspectives, and they have to imbibe these Swaroism into their life. Swaroism is more like a guiding principle of life. Uh, it is not exaggeration to say that Swaroism is a new religion. People think that the religion is a very old term, but in other sense, Swaroism is up to a religion actually, because people are guided by certain ideology and certain principles. This is the thing for any religion. The religion is always guided by principles and ideas. So Swaroism is also the same thing. It has some principles. It is guided by those principles and guidelines, and it is going to shape your personality. So people think that religion should be very spiritual, but actually, in some sense, this is spirituality that is transforming human beings into great personalities. I used to feel very inferior, much before, but later, after reading books, after reading these Bahujan legends, I've learned great things, and I've learned to be very feel superlative in nature. So this commandment, I shall be the leader wherever I am. No, I have acquired it from these legends. So you should acquire all these qualities. When you acquire all these qualities, then your life will be very much different from what it is now. And if you have changed that because of Swaroism, then it is obviously a religion. So it might look odd for somebody to look at this as a religion, but to the upcoming students, what I would say is that no, you read much into this Swaroism, the principles, the guiding factors. You should have a deep analysis of what it is, how it is, and then you can change yourself. So for me, you are a Swaro only if you follow all these things, and if you are a Swaro, try to maintain that standards at any point of time. There is no point, you might do a mistake or something at some point of time, but to rectify your mistake, there are guiding principles like this always.
Yes, ma'am.
No, let us take one thing like, I shall borrow, I shall repay what I borrow. So if I have taken some money from one of my friends, and if I happen to not repay him at later some point of time, when I look back at this, I'll also get that I should repay. I'll repay. Now this is the guiding principle. So in this way, my perception, I just want to put a perception to the viewers so that they look it in a different way.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for the message, Anna. That's a very good message for all the people who are now entering into different fields and etc.